जीवन्मुक्तिप्रदं देवं क्षमापूर्णं जगद्गुरुं वन्दे परमहंसाख्यं नित्यानन्दाय स्वागतं। जीवन्मुक्तिप्रदं देवं क्षमापूर्णं जगद्गुरुं वन्दे परमहंसाख्यं नित्यानन्दाय स्वागतम्। आनन्दानुभवास्वादं सर्वरोगनिवारकं वन्दे पापविनाशक्तं नित्यानन्दम्।
नमो अरिहन्तानं नमो सिद्धानं नमो आयर्यानं नमो उवज्जायानं नमो लोये सव्वसाहूनं एषो वञ्चनमक्खारो सव्वपापवनाशनो मङ्गलानां च सव्येसिं पदमं हवै मङ्गलम् पदमं हवै मङ्गलम्। I welcome you all with my love and respects. Mahavir greatest enlightened master happened on the planet Earth. He is the only master who is able to create a technology or the formula to reproduce not only enlightened beings, to create the purest tradition. Understand, Vedic tradition, or the traditions which are born in India, we can really be proud of one important thing. You can't misinterpret, misunderstand Mahavir. You can't. He has gone to the extreme of great spiritual truths. Not only he expressed in his life, even the teachings which he created are the next generation which he created. In them also he has instilled these great truths in its purest form. Understand? You can't instill that great tradition, great truth in your next generation if you are hypocrite, if you are hypocritical, if you are saying one thing and living in the other way. Because the next generation, the immediate generation, is going to only see you and learn. It is not going to learn from what you are teaching. It is going to learn only from what you are doing. Maybe after 200-300 years, nobody will know what you did. They will learn from your teaching, because only the teachings are recorded and kept. But the first generation is going to learn only what you do. If the first generation people are truthful, honest, spiritual, without violence, that means the master lived a pure life. Master lived beautiful life. Except Mahavir, there is no other master who can boast the beautiful first generation. Means enlightened first generation, who did not fight with themselves. The moment master dies, first thing will happen is fight among the disciples. The problem among the disciples. Only Mahavir can boast there is no fight, there was no trouble, even after he left the body. The first generation was completely enlightened. The reason is he lived that kind of life. Actually, all these days I did not speak on Mahavir's sutras, Jain sutras, because I thought people can't digest it. It is too much truth. It is too much. To tell you honestly, when I tell people, please drop smoking, they drop me, not smoking. If you give the truth as it is, it's very difficult for them. And man actually needs little lies, hope for his life. But you can't add any little bit of lie, hopes and all these things with Mahavira. It's a pure energy, pure consciousness. How much you try to misinterpret, you can't do. Because it's very clear. You can't entertain people with Mahavira. He is not an entertaining philosopher. No. He is truth in its true form. So, I thought, let me have a right group. Only then I should start speaking on Mahavira. Only then I should talk on Mahavira's sutras. Now we are going to see not only the sutras directly by Mahavira, some sutras from the disciples also, Akaranga sutras also. In the publicity material also you would have seen the name Akaranga sutras, because the beauty is the Akaranga sutras gives you the techniques to apply Mahavira's teachings. Such pure, simple truths expressed by Mahavira. For a normal man, it is very difficult to digest. I was always telling our close people, they were asking me again and again, Swamiji, why don't you speak on Mahavira? Because I have spoken on Bhagavad Gita, Ashtavakra Gita, Upanishads, on Buddha, on Sermon on the Mount. They were again and again asking me, Swamiji, speak on Mahavira. I told them, I am afraid that you guys will run away. Because he is a pure truth. He is not compromising. Understand? He is not compromising. I always tell people, if I speak on Mahavira, I am afraid that you may run away, because the truth in its purest form, you can't add any stories or jokes. You can't dilute. It has to be expressed in a clear, authentic way. One more important thing, you can't edit Mahavira Sutras because there is no repetition. You can't edit, you can't say, oh, these sutras are beautiful and these are all repetition. No. You can't reduce You can't take away even a single word. He is so clear, straight to the point of enlightenment. He is not starting his works with an introduction. No. No introduction. He is not preparing you mentally. No. See, you need introduction. If I am going to say something which I have not experienced, I have to prepare you. If I am going to say the straight truth, you don't need introduction. I don't have to give a big introduction. I don't have to prepare you. Here, Mahavir is not preparing. No introduction. Straight truth. He is talking the honest truth. Many times I am surprised. Even the so-called followers of Mahavira, even the people who are born in the Jain community, do not read or do not give much time to the philosophy of Mahavira. They spend more time in front of Mahavira's statue because you can easily escape from a statue. They spend more time with Mahavir's idol because it's more like you are only going to do anything. He is just sitting silently. You can do whatever you want. If you don't do also, he will not ask you. But with the words, with his teachings, he will start working on you. I have seen people go to the Jain temples, sit in front of that murti. From morning till night they will do all rituals. But they are afraid to read the literature. They are afraid to read the words of Mahavira. As long as you are playing with Mahavira's murti, you can work on him. You can put flowers, you can put sandal, you can put prasadam, you can put offerings. You will be working on him. But the moment you read his teachings, he will be working on you. We are afraid of that. We are afraid of allowing him to work on us. It is very easy if you work on him, because you are a master. If you are just stopping with the idol worship, I am not saying idol worship is wrong, beautiful. It's beautiful. If it inspires you to follow him, if it inspires you to follow his teachings, follow his words, idol worship is beautiful technique. But many times I have seen people use idol worship to escape from his teachings. Then it's dangerous. Understand? Please don't work on Mahavira. Allow him to work on you. Let him work on you. Let the teachings penetrate your being. Again, I request you all, if I hurt you in some way, please forgive me, because the teachings of Mahavira are straight truth. He is basically by blood Kshatriya. Kshatriya doesn't know courtesy, because he is not begging from anybody. A Brahmana will always be courteous, because by his birth he is supposed to receive and eat. Understand? When I say that those words, they don't have meaning for a modern society. In the modern day, the Brahmana does not mean he eats from others. I am saying from those days. Those days, the Brahmana is supposed to receive and eat. So naturally, he will be a little humble, courteous. He will think twice before hurting people. Kshatriya, especially if he becomes enlightened, he will not compromise. He will tell the truth straight away. And one more thing, Kshatriya is not afraid of death. It doesn't bother. If you kill me, that's okay, but I am going to tell the truth. I am going to tell the truth. Arhanta means who conquered all the enemies, who killed all the enemies. First enemy is fear. Your own fear. The desire to live, thirst for living is the first enemy. You may say then, should we commit suicide? No, I am not telling you commit suicide. But too much of desire or so much of fear that you may die, that's the first enemy. Mahavir has conquered. He has conquered that enemy, the fear. That's the reason he was able to tell the truth as it is. One more thing, before entering into any enlightened master's teachings or any great master's teachings, you should analyze to whom it is delivered, for what purpose it is delivered, because you should see the ulterior motive of the teaching. What for those teachings are delivered? He came and he said, I take bath every day in Ganges 3 times and I do all the Sandhya practices. So he started boasting and he claimed that he will achieve the highest moksha, heaven. Vivekananda said, just taking bath in Ganges, you will become God means then fishes which are in the Ganges, they are the gods and holiest creatures. So I can't say just taking bath in Ganges will make you holy. The guy was shocked, the traditional Pandit, and he left the place. After a few minutes, one young guy came, graduate from Calcutta University. He said, Swamiji, I heard that you are a very modern person who does not bother about the traditional things like taking bath in Ganga and doing Sandhya and all these kind of things. I really appreciate your teachings and I am searching a master like you. I also don't like all these traditional things. Vivekananda said, who told you? Every day I take bath in Ganges and I worship Ganga. Who told you? I don't acknowledge all these traditional things. I respect tradition. I live according to tradition. The young man said, oh, is it so? Anyhow, Vivekananda gave a few teachings and young man left. Old man also received the teachings which is for him. Young guy, he also received the teaching which is for him. Now the disciple who was sitting at the feet and watching both the scenes, he got confused. Just like you all now. He asked, what is this? What are you telling me? When that man came, you said different thing. And when this guy came, this young guy came, you are telling something else. What do you mean? Vivekananda says beautifully, that teaching for that old man, this is for that young man who needs what kind of teaching. That is given to him. For you, press my feet. Before entering into the great truths of an enlightened masters, we should analyze to whom it is given, what was the ulterior motive, purpose, then we should enter into the teachings. Only then we will be able to understand, assimilate and practice the truth in its purest form.